Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tori and today we will be setting up my reading journal for the month of March. I am using an A5 Archer and Olive dot grid notebook. I do have a promo code for Archer and Olive. If you're interested in checking them out, I will have it pop up here on screen. It's just my name, Torey Ramos. And you can save 10% on any order. It is an affiliate link, so I do make a small commission if you use it, but it saves you pretty much shipping on most of your orders, which is great because the shipping can be a little bit pricey. I am doing another pen and marker setup only with some washi tapes. I've been sticking to that pretty much here, but I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a flip through so far of my reading journal and kind of see how it's coming along. I still haven't wrote my name here. I look at this every day and still haven't done it. For my books on my bookshelf, I decided not to color these in based on anything. I was having such a hard time trying to decide what I wanted to do that ultimately I just decided I'm just going to pick some colors and then I will just alternate them and just color the book in with whatever I feel like coloring it in once I have finished the book. So I'll write the book name once I finish it or once I start reading it here. And then I will color it in once it's finished. And that's really what I ended up doing for it this page. I will be alternating months on my Goodreads goal tracker. So you can see, if you look closely, I don't know if it'll show on camera, but 14 through 18 so far are a little bit lighter shade of brown. And then when we get into March, I will go back to the darker shade of brown. So it'll have just a little tiny variation. And I think that'll look really nice at the end of the year. I've only filled in January for my monthly total so far. I've got some anticipated releases, and I've gotten quite a bit already filled in on my A to Z challenge over here. So I'm super excited about that. I'm hoping to finish this again this year. I had to add a flip up to my backlogs because I can't stop, won't stop getting books. I don't add books to this list until I have owned them for a month and have not read them. So I've got another space back here that I can add more like slots to if I need to, but I really want to start focusing on getting some of these read as well. My daily reading challenge is looking super good so far. I love the way that this one looks at the end of the year. I do have the series tracker filled in here. I've got two series, the Heartstopper series and then the Boys of Tommen series listed down here so far. And then this is kind of where I am still needing to do some updating. So I do have a trope bingo listed out here. Let me kind of bring this up a little bit. So once I have read a book that falls under these tropes, and I'm sure I already have for some of these, I'll write the book title in this little like square, and then I will just color it in this little brown square. I cannot find the stamp set that I used for all my titles. So I have no idea where it is. I'm still looking for it. Hopefully I find it soon because I need to finish doing titles. This page over here is going to be for the diverse baseline challenge that I'm doing. I just still have not figured out how I want to set this up. I don't even have anything sketched out over here. These two will hold all of the covers of any books that I give 5 stars to this year. I tend to be pretty picky with what I give 5 stars, so I think I've only given one book 5 stars so far. So I don't anticipate needing more than these 2 pages. And then for these last 2 pages, I am going to do a rating system and the 4 doors to reading preferences that I have. I thought they would be super nice to have these in my reading journal. That way I can reference back. And when I'm looking at how I have rated books or what ratings I gave books in the future, then I can just kind of see like what method I was using to rate those books, or what, looking at the 4 doors to reading, what I was like really interested in as I was reading for this year. Then we have January. I had to add a little flip up for January because I ran out of space for the books that I read. I still haven't filled this in either. And then February. Right now I'm currently reading To Shape a Dragon's Breath. And I'm probably going to be listening to that on my audio while I am getting this March setup completed. And then I have all of my March stuff sketched out here. And I'm doing kind of a vine / hanging sign theme. You'll see it a little bit when we start actually sketching everything out. So I counted all of my pages here to have, I think it was 3 spreads for each month. And then you can flip back here to the back of my book. I do need to make a little cover page for this section. This is going to be my book review section. So I did do a little tiny spread where I'm just going to print out a cover of every single book that I've read this year and paste it here. And I have 2 of those. And then we jump into all of the books that I've read so far. I've got a couple of these pages done with just nothing actually written in here. But I wanted these to be in the back of my book so that I didn't feel like I needed to stick to any type of theme when I'm actually filling them out. And I can just kind of either go based on the book cover, or if there's like something specific that calls out to me in that book, I can do that. Like I read a book last year that heavily relied on like, or mentioned sunflowers. So then I could use sunflowers if I'm doing my page. So I've got a couple of these prepped. I skipped a book cover that needs to go here. And then basically my rating is going to be what size page that I gave it. So these 2, I gave 2 stars. So I just gave it half a page. Like I didn't really feel like I needed to give that too much space. And then this is the last one that I've got like sort of prepped, and then I will move along. I think this is book number 10, and I'm up to 18 so far. So that's the last thing I've got actually done. And now I just need to set up March. So for my setup today, I've got a couple of things. I've got some washi tapes, and I don't know where any of these came from. This might have come from Amazon actually, this dotted washi tape, but I pulled this because it's got little green dots. And I'm going to be heavily using green in my spread today, in my setup. And then I have just a grid and a really, really light, like taupe washi tape. And then for my colors, I have my N89 Tombow dual brush pen. I have a 192, a 228, and then a 969. And then I also have this mild liner, but this one does not have a color on it. It's just a kind of brighter green. It's really pretty, but I don't know what the color name is because there's no color listed on it. And then I also have a 0.05 just felt tip pen. Fine liner. I forgot the word. And that's really what I'm going to be doing for my colors. And like I said, I'm doing a like vine theme. My letters are going to be like bubbly letters. And then I'm going to be in some of these pages having signs hanging from like these little bars that I'm going to create to hang my little vines off of. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to turn my book on, and then I'm just going to go to town. I'm planning to do this very like scribbly. I do not want this to take forever, so I'm going to just I don't want to say wing it, but I'm going to be very loose with how I'm drawing my vines. I'm not aiming for perfection. I'm going to color them in very loosely, probably outside of the lines. I want it to look very just loose, I guess. And then, yeah, so we will jump right in. If I have anything to say, I will give it over to my voiceover self. So finally getting into my March setup, the first thing that I am going to do here is just kind of outline my actual March title page or my cover page. I am using this kind of very bubbly, like bubble letter font. This is just a random bubble letter font that I do in like my catch-all notebook whenever I'm just kind of doodling and stuff. So it's just one that I've done since I was in high school, really. I'm placing this March title in kind of a hanging sign. And then hanging off of my March title, I'm going to have a smaller sign that holds the to be read books that I will have for March. And my to be read is usually a very small space, at least it has been for this year so far, because I have been trying to only keep 2 to 3 books in this to be read section for books that I really want to get read for that month. I find that it's a lot easier to read those books if there are less of them, because I am very much a mood reader. At the top of my page, I have kind of a very thin line that will act as like a bar or a branch of sorts that all of my vines and my signs will be hanging off of. And I am turning my notebook completely upside down when I am drawing out my vines. 2 of these vines that I'm drawing are really just going to be upside down hearts. I personally draw my hearts in one line. I draw like one loop and then just continue and do the second loop. And I found that the way that I draw my hearts works out really, really well for this type of vine that I did. And then then the last vine that I'm doing is just kind of looks like regular leaves. I will use the dark brown Tombow marker to color in the outside borders of my signs and the kind of hanging rod that will be at the top of all of my pages. And then I'm just going to use all of the various colors of green that I pulled out and alternate them among my vines. I do end up, as the layouts and spreads go on, kind of just automatically using one color for one type of vine, but I will switch that up every now and again, just so that I don't have too many of the same colors next to each other. I will use my N89 marker to color in all of my bubble letters for the entire setup. So March here, I'm coloring that in the N89. And then once I get these vines finished colored in, I'm going to grab a couple pieces of washi tape and then just lay them towards the bottom of my pages. If you'll notice, in this setup, I don't actually have a border around my page. So I wanted to try and see if I could make myself feel better about that by adding some washi tape towards the bottom and these little dot like washi tape stickers. I am still feeling a little uneasy about the fact that there's not a border on this page. I don't know what it is about borders, but they bring me comfort. And I really wanted to try and see if I could do a setup that I really loved without adding borders to it. So this was kind of a challenge for me. Moving right along, we are working on my visual time to read spread and my log, or my reading log for the month. So I am drawing a calendar, and this calendar is 3 dot grid spaces by 3 dot grid spaces. And essentially, I will draw a line across the days that I am reading a certain book, and I have assigned each format of book a color. Yes, I've assigned each format, so I'll have a color for audio, a color for digital, and a color for physical books. And basically I'll just draw a line from start to end, and then I'll highlight the line that I've drawn. And I just really love the way that these spreads look at the end of the month. I did share a photo of my January visual time to read calendar over on my Instagram maybe like a week or two ago. I don't even remember anymore, but I did share one over there, and it was just chef's kiss. I love the way it looks so much. And then surrounding my calendar, I'm just going to draw some more hanging vines. I have my whole calendar hanging off of kind of this rod. I don't know what to call it. I don't know if to call it a stick or a rod or what, but you know what I'm talking about. So I have my calendar itself, like the whole calendar, attached to the rod, and then below my calendar I have 3 little rectangles as if they're hanging off of my calendar, and that's where I'm going to place my colors for the format in which I read each book. On the other page, my log page, I have kind of a chain of hanging signs, quote unquote, that I just drew out, and this is going to be to kind of block off each book that I may potentially read in the month of March. I do have 10 spots here that I can use to add a book title and the information that I like to have in my journal. And I've just basically kind of added another like notch to just hang the signs off of the other signs. And I did end up placing numbers into each of those as well. I will color those boxes in with the N89 Tombow marker, my title with that Tombow marker, and then on my calendar I put the dates over on the left hand side. So as an example, there is a small rectangle box next to the first 3 boxes, and it just says 01 to 03, and then those are going to encompass the dates that will take place during that week. And those boxes I will color in that N89 Tombow dual brush pen as well. I am now getting all of my leaves and vines colored in again. For the most part, I feel like this setup was fairly simple. Like I said at the beginning, I just wanted everything to be very quick, and I was not against it looking a little bit messy. So I wasn't trying to keep things inside the lines. I wasn't trying to keep my lines perfect. With the exception of my calendar, I did use a ruler to draw out all of those lines. But for the most part, everything is wonky lines. I wasn't trying to color inside the lines. I wasn't trying to make perfectly shaped leaves, because leaves are not perfect in nature. So that's just a good way to kind of take a little bit of the pressure off of yourself for sure. And I was able to get through some of these pages fairly quickly. I think I only had about an hour and 15 minutes of footage here, and I probably spent about 30 to 45 minutes, I think, sketching everything out. To be quite honest, the thing that took me the longest to sketch out was all of my headers, because while the bubble letters don't look like I tried that hard, I do struggle when I'm writing like letters and stuff out, making them all the same size. And I end up doing a lot of erasing and redoing it. So I think the bubble letters are what took me the longest to get sketched out. And then now we are working on my last 2 pages here, which is going to be my totals page and my favorite page. And I love the way these 2 came out. So for my totals page, every total that I will be tracking is hanging off of that stick rod from the top of my page, and there are 6 boxes, and then there is a lot more viney pieces hanging on that particular page as well. Then on my favorite page, I have a very large frame or sign that I will paste the cover of my favorite book for the month in, and I just have two very long viney branches hanging on either side of that. For my totals, again, this month I am going to track the number of books I've read, the number of pages I read, how many hours I listened to books, how many genres I read, how many formats I read in, and then how many diverse books I read as well. So I will be tracking all of those. They're the same things that I put on my totals page for last month, so I'm going to continue on with that for the month of March as well. And then for my favorite, obviously, is just going to be whatever ends up being my favorite book of the month. I did struggle a little bit in February. I think February has just been a very off month for me because in my bullet journal video, I did talk a little bit about how I just was not motivated to reach for or grab my bullet journal at all. And I was feeling very much the same about like reading this month and filling in my reading journal as well. I did still read quite a bit. I think I am at 6 books as of right now, and there are still about 2.5 days left of the month. So I could probably get 1 more book, 2 more books if I find one that I really, really like and like binge read. But last month I read like 13 books. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe I just overdid it last month. Like I read 13 books last month. I was in my bullet journal every day, multiple times a day. And maybe I just did a little bit too much. And that's why in February I was just not about it, which made me a little bit sad because I really loved both of my setups. But at least the stuff that I do generally keep in like my reading journal and the trackers and stuff, I can usually go back and backdate fill those in if I need to. So everything still looks like it's filled in pretty decently. So it doesn't look like I wasn't using my journals, but you know, here we are. We all have those months, and I am hoping to be a little bit more motivated in March than I was in February. I did see a couple of YouTubers also talking about how February just wasn't it for them either. Let me know down in the comments if you struggled in February as well. I'm just coloring in all of my main pieces again here on this final spread. So my titles, my signs, my stick rods, and then I am going to highlight the little heading of each section for the totals that I'll be tracking. I will highlight that in my N89 brush pen as well. And then I'm going to just get everything colored in. So there's not too much really to talk about. I'm just doing, I think, really the same thing on each page. I did, like I said, wanted to keep this one pretty simple and very stress-free, and not have to kind of think too deeply or too hard about getting them set up. I did the same thing for my bullet journal setup as well for March. I'm thinking if I kind of ease up a little bit on the setups, maybe that will help me kind of become a little bit more motivated again. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I am pretty close to done here. I just need to then add a little bit of washi tape after I get these sign notches here. And then once I get that washi tape added, I think that's going to be the last thing that I will be doing. And I will go ahead and get a little final flip through here shown for you. If you've made it to the end of my video, leave me a leaf emoji of some sorts down in the comments below, and let me know what your favorite book was for the month of February if you did any reading in February. Well, yeah, like I said, that's going to be about it. I'm just going to put 3 more little dots on this totals page, and then we will jump into the final flip through. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!